Welcome back to Quick Slant from the Daytona Beach News Journal. I'm Chris Vanell, and I'm going to keep the intro short today because we have a ton to talk about, including a story that was just written by our Chris Boyle, who joins us today. Chris, we'll jump right into that. The FHSA rankings just dropped on Tuesday. You've got the story, so everyone should be sure to check that out for full details. But what kind of sticks out to you from the new rankings?
Well, it's like university coach Justin Roberts said. He said it's great and it doesn't mean anything at the same time. Like, we're still at the halfway point. A lot of these teams have 5-6 games left to go. So it's a good opportunity to see where teams stand and who's got the upper hand right now. But there's so much that's going to happen over the next, 5 or 6 weeks to where you're going to see teams move up, move down, drop in, drop out. It's still so early to tell. You can't really get a true pulse of the playoff picture. There's some really good teams right now that are on the outside looking in for, mathematical reasons. DeLand being probably in this area being the most, clear example of that. But, there's still going to be opportunities for them and others to get into the playoffs by the time the season ends.
I think you said in total we've got 8 playoff teams. If the season ended today, and Mainland is the top team in the area. No surprise there. They're number 1 in 3S. And number 3 overall in the state. And I believe you said even in your piece that, they want home field advantage. Travis Rowland is tired of, he doesn't want to have to travel up and down I-95 like he did last year. They want that home field advantage. So still a long way to go, but it is kind of a first glimpse at where teams stand at kind of the halfway point of the year. You mentioned DeLand. Let's talk about their game this week. They've got Spruce Creek in a rematch of what amounted to be a district championship game last year. DeLand won that 23-15. Do you expect a similar type of battle this year?
Yeah, I think you take last week's game for Spruce Creek and kind of throw it out. Not many teams are going to stretch you quite like Lake Mary does from a vertical passing game and from a passing game in general. This sets up more to what they do well in stopping the run. Obviously, DeLand is a very tough, tall task in terms of slowing down anybody, considering how many yards Javon Ross has this season already, and that TJ Moore can obviously physically run it at you or throw it over the top. So I think this is going to be a better opportunity for them. DeLand, a great chance for them to prove that the numbers are wrong right now. They are the team that has the district title. They're defending it. They're number 2 in our rankings, and Creek's number 4. So this is going to be a really good test for both of these teams and an opportunity for them to kind of secure potentially a wild card, because I do think at least 2 spots are up for grabs in District 9 4S.
Another really good test this week is New Smyrna Beach hosting University. University is one of the top teams in the area, at least by our rankings. And New Smyrna Beach is a team that they're undefeated, but they haven't truly gotten tested yet by a really good opponent. They've won games and they've played close games, but it necessarily hasn't been taken on juggernauts. But both teams coming into this one undefeated, a lot on the line. What do you see there, or what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I want to see how this New Smyrna defense deals with University's offense. They've held their last 2 opponents to 2 points, including holding Horizon to 91 yards of offense last week, whereas University's scoring over 40 a game right now, and they've kind of done it no matter who they've faced. Malachi Walters is completing over 75% of his passes. He's over 1,200 yards, having a really good season. Barrett Schultz had a big week last week. Jermaine Hayes, you can always count on to have several big plays in over the course of a night. And they didn't even run it that well last week, and yet here we are talking about them still at 5-0. So I think this is a very difficult opponent for New Smyrna. It will be their first opportunity to show what they're worth and how tough they are, and whether or not they will be a team in the playoffs. Right now, they're seeded 3rd in the region. University 2nd. Again, same region as Creek and DeLand are. There's playoff spots up for grabs here, so it's out to somebody to go take it.
Mainland taking on Pine Ridge. This wasn't a close game last year. It was 66-0 Mainland. Pine Ridge is improved this year, but it's still kind of a David versus Goliath thing. What are you looking for there?
Yeah, I think Pine Ridge is just physically a lot better than they were a year ago. They're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger. and they've got some confidence. They were feeling really good about themselves, even though they lost to Lake Howell last week. They lost by 1 point. I mean, they're still, able to go out there and compete and win ball games. This is going to be a very difficult task for them, though. I mean, Mainland hasn't lost to anybody all year. They're ranked third in the state in the FHSA rankings. They're gunning at the number 1 seed. They know they can't have a week where they slip up or slow down. So I do think that this is going to be an opportunity for them to take that first step towards reclaiming the district title and making the playoffs for a 30th year running.
Well, it would be they've never lost to Pine Ridge too, so it'd be kind of a continuation of that streak. Let's go to our quick hitters. Pine Ridge at Flagler Palm Coast. This game came down to a game-winning field goal in favor of the Bulldogs last year. Are you expecting a similar type of battle?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game kind of one of the trenches, and that's the way Flagler tends to like these games, right? Like, they're physical. They've showed it in their couple of wins. They showed it last week. They can run it. They're very tough up front, and I think the same can be said of Ponte Vedra. You look at Jake Guarnera, their center, committed to Michigan, and they can kind of do it multiple ways offensively. I thought Ben Burke got better as the year went on last year as Ponte Vedra's quarterback. He can run it a little bit. He can throw it. Very difficult offense to slow down for Ponte Vedra. So good test for both of these teams, and I think these are probably the 2 best teams in that district, and first place is very much on the line here.
Halifax is kind of riding the wave at the moment. They're undefeated. They've got Holy Trinity Episcopal. Can Halifax continue that ride this week?
Well, I said last week, I don't think it's tough to pick against these guys now, and they went out and won again last week against Cocoa Beach. Their task is going to be slowing down Brogan McNabb, who's a dual threat quarterback for Holy Trinity, having a big year. Over 1,000 yards passing, averaging 9.7 yards per carry as a runner. If they can keep him contained, they have a chance. If he's able to kind of do what he wants to do, I think it could be an opportunity for a chance where they lose their first game of the year. Big game for both of these teams, and they're the number 1 and 2 seeds in Region 1-1S right now.
Taylor is hosting Crescent City in a rivalry game, but that's really not the only thing up for grabs here. What are kind of the implications of that game?
Yeah, it's first place on the line in District 8 2S. Winner takes a huge leap towards the playoffs. There's only 3 teams in the district, Atlantic being the other. For Taylor, running the ball has been their bread and butter. Let's see if they can do it against Crescent City. That's a team that they've really struggled with in years gone by. Crescent City now under the leadership of Robert Ripley, a familiar name up in Flagler County. They're trying to put a 4-quarter game together. If they can do that, whoever wins this game has the advantage going into the second half of the year, and all they need to do is to win against Atlantic to get into the postseason.
For the second straight week, we have Thursday night football. This week it's Seabreeze at Deltona. Both teams come in winless under first-year head coaches, but somebody has to win this one. Who do you think it's going to be?
I'm going to take Seabreeze with Lester Davis in charge. I think they're just further along in their development right now. They've also run a gauntlet. I know they've given up 50 a couple of times, but you look who they've played. They've played Spruce Creek. They played Bartram Trail. They played University. They played DeLand. That is a really difficult run of games. I think they're better prepared. Deltona, I think it's going to be sooner rather than later they get their first win of under Matt Martin, but I just don't think it's going to be here.
Matanzas at St Augustine. Last but not least, we've talked about that St Augustine offense and how explosive it is. So is this a matter for Matanzas of trying to slow them down, or is it a matter more of trying to keep up?
It's about trying to keep up, and I don't mean this as a slant towards Matanzas at all. I'm just not sure anyone can slow down St. Augustine. This is a passing game that's remarkable. They've got as much perimeter talent as anybody in the state of Florida. Last week, even with a backup quarterback in and Dylan Cook, they still went over 300 yards passing. They beat a Bartram Trail team that had their number. They're just really, really explosive. They can beat you short. They can beat you deep. And I think Matanzas, for them, it's about carrying over that offensive momentum from last week. Can Daquan Evans go out there and have a game similar to what he did last week where he had 4 touchdowns against Atlantic? Can Cole Hash pop off some big runs? I think it's going to come down to that more than trying to slow down St. Augustine. They just got to keep up.
Chris Boyle, we appreciate you keeping us up to date on everything we've got going on here in Volusia and Flagler counties. Make sure to check out Chris's story on our website and in print, and check us out next week on Quick Slant.